Barcelona injury worries ahead of Bayern Munich clash. Dortmund slap price tag on English star. West Ham aim to keep Rice. A transfer roundup all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich. You are the OneFootballers, and this is the Daily News. So first up, Barcelona are facing a little bit of a nightmare when it comes to their opening clash in the Champions League against Bayern Munich. And not only because they're going to be very, very thoughtful about that 8-2 game just over a year ago. Well, maybe the players won't be thinking about it too much, but certainly the fans will have a timely reminder of how they were utterly embarrassed in the Champions League quarter-final in August 2020. Anyway, moving on from that, Barcelona have got a whole host of new players, although some of them aren't going to be available for the match. And this is a bit of a worry. Martin Braithwaite has now got a serious knee injury, so he will not be able to play the game. He will go on the injury list alongside the likes of Sergio Aguero, who's joined the club and is yet to feature and probably won't do until October. There's also Ansu Fati, who's recovering from a long-term injury. Ousmane Dembele is on the injury list as well. And that means the Barcelona are going to have to field quite a new lineup. Memphis Depay is, of course, the new main man up front, with Antoine Griezmann having left the club. And it looks like they may put in the likes of Yusuf Demir, who's the loanee from Austria, and also new loan signing Luke de Jong could be forced into the lineup straight away. It's going to be very difficult for Barcelona to put together a solid attacking lineup. And on top of this, they're bringing Gerard Piqué into the back line, and they're going to have to do wonders if they're to stop Robert Lewandowski and co from scoring a ridiculous amount of goals again. Surely it's not going to be 8-2. Surely, I'm sorry for bringing it up, Barcelona fans, but it's just such a ridiculous result. Anyway, talking of injuries, and Manchester United will be travelling for their first match without Edinson Cavani, who picked up an injury at the weekend. But of course, Cristiano Ronaldo is back at Manchester United. He's back in the travelling squad for the Champions League, and the highest goal scorer and assister in Champions League history will probably be adding to his tally, because that's just what he does. Before we move on to the next story, though, you probably heard about it last week. We're having a OneFootball sale on our store. It runs until tomorrow, the 15th of September, so make sure you check the link in the description down below, because there's loads of stuff for up to 50% off, including all of our essentials collection and some of the summer games collection as well. So click that link below and grab yourself some cool merch. Next up then, we're moving to Jude Bellingham, because Dortmund have slapped a massive price tag on the 18-year-old. And why not? When it comes to selling anybody, Dortmund like to put some hefty price tags because they know they're going to get the money for it, especially when Premier League clubs are involved. We know they love spending a load of money, Manchester City especially, spending 100 million on Jack Grealish. So who's to say they won't go and spend 100 million next summer on Jude Bellingham? With Fernandinho signing a new one-year deal, it means that, well, it's only 1 year. So his contract yet again runs out next summer, and eventually they're going to need to replace him in midfield. Whether that's dropping Rodri a little bit deeper, whether it's moving Jude Bellingham into the side, we don't know quite yet. But it looks as though the England international does have a stunning future ahead of him. 100 million does seem like a lot for an 18-year-old. It does seem like a lot. It is a lot for an 18-year-old. But if they're to bring him in and realistically get like 10 to 12 years service out of that player, whose quality and will only develop further under Pep Guardiola, 8 to 10 million a season for that kind of player doesn't seem so bad. It just seems a lot all at once. But like I said before, Dortmund hold out for that big money, whether it's Ousmane Dembele, whether it's Jadon Sancho, whether it's Erling Haaland, who looks to go for a hefty fee next summer or even the summer after as well. Dortmund get their money. So, where will Jude Bellingham end up? Well, Liverpool have been linked. I think he'd do a fantastic job at Anfield under Jurgen Klopp. Manchester City have as well, like I mentioned, a replacement for Fernandinho, and Chelsea as well. The only issue is Chelsea have a very stacked midfield at the moment. Kante's in there, Jorginho, they've got Kovacic, they've just signed Saul Niguez as well. I'm probably missing one or two others. They've got an unbelievable midfield, and it'll be difficult for Jude Bellingham to get into the side. There were reports that if Thomas Tuchel brought him in, he'd want to move him as a right centre-back, but I'm not so sure that's really the future of the youngster. Moving on though, and if teams don't want to spend 100 million on Jude Bellingham, they can still spend 100 million on Declan Rice. That's because that's how much West Ham want for their midfielder. Honestly, it's a crazy amount of money, but like I mentioned before, if they're going to get a ridiculous amount of year service out of him, it may make sense in the long run. It's just that nowadays in football, nobody really has a long run at a club. They seem to be moving every 2 or 3 years. Anyway, as for the midfielder himself, he said that he wanted to stay with West Ham this season because they've got European football. And of course, they kick off their Europa League campaign on Thursday. But when it comes to next summer, we're pretty much going through the same options that we just mentioned with Jude Bellingham moving to the Premier League. If Declan Rice moves to Manchester City, he'd be a great replacement for Fernandinho. If he moves to Manchester United, maybe they could sell Pogba, who reportedly wants to sign a new contract, and they could have just one player sitting in a defensive midfield role instead of having to play Fred and McTominay, because clearly Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't trust just one of them to do the sweeping up in front of the back four. And when it moves to Chelsea, it looks like Declan Rice could move to Chelsea. He's got friends there, he used to play for the club, but like I mentioned with Bellingham, they've got so many players there, it seems kind of unnecessary. The only way I can see him moving to Chelsea is if Saúl goes back after the 1 year loan, and maybe if they sell another player and raise a bit of funds. I don't know. It looks as though for the moment Rice will be staying at West Ham, and if they can continue their form from last season, maybe break into the Champions League, who knows, they could persuade them to stay around for one more year at least. Next up then to the transfer roundup, and actually talking of Declan Rice's friends at Chelsea, one of his oldest mates, Mason Mount, is close to signing a new deal at Stamford Bridge, which will reportedly see his wages jump to around £150,000 per week. Sticking with the Chelsea theme actually, and former Chelsea striker, he also played for West Ham, Newcastle and a host of other clubs, Demba Ba is retiring from football aged 36. On top of this, Bayern's Leon Goretzka has signed a new deal with the club that will take him up to 2026. And lastly but not least, if you have not seen Andros Townsend's goal from last night for Everton against Burnley, check that out. A stunning finish. I've never seen a keeper get I don't think the keeper could have been further away from it if he tried. It was such a stunning strike. That's all from me then. Make sure you let me know your thoughts down below on the Daily News. Check out everything else we've got going on, and until next time, enjoy the return of the Champions League, and I will see you guys later.